I ended up here with influencers in the wild. They just want you to get content for wherever you're traveling. So there was two of them. One was an older guy, but he's kind of creeping me out, so I didn't talk to him.
Oh.
She said he's creeping her out.
Not creepy. He's not creepy, but I wasn't fancying like talking to him too much.
Hey, besties. What if I told you that Kody Brown's hatred for women is ultimately what ended his time on Special Forces? What if I told you that Kody's inability to work with his teammates and to protect his teammates and to help his female teammates is the reason why he was kicked out? And what if I told you that the drill sergeants were able to tease out in Kody's own behavior that he had zero respect for women? That's everything that happened this season. But the last episode was telling. So, in the interrogation portion of this series, they are put through 12 hours of intense interrogation, and they are in this simulated, we've been captured by the enemy. And so, during the process, they are asked a lot of questions. They are made to do really difficult challenges. It's horrible. It's also a television show, and they're putting themselves through this. So it's not the same as when an actual service person is captured. With that being said, Kody was a mess. And Kody's behavior was amplified by the fact that he was placed with Brianna Chicken Fry and with Gia Giudice. Now, Gia actually won, and so did Sean Johnson East, the former Olympic gold medalist. But none of the men made it to the end, and Kody was kicked off. So why was Kody kicked off? Well, the drill sergeants noticed early on that Kody could not work with women, that Kody lacked respect with women, and that Kody didn't know how to treat women like equals. He didn't want to partner with them. He didn't want to help them. He just wanted to boss them around. I actually feel really bad for Brianna, because throughout this entire experience, she was always with Kody, and she was forced to be his partner always. It was awful for her. Now, she wasn't kicked off because of what happened with Kody. She was kicked off because she withdrew herself because she didn't want to be buried alive at the end of the last challenge. So the very last challenge, they were going to be placed in a box in mud, and she didn't want to do it, so she left. So she withdrew herself, but Kody was kicked off. Kody was a maniac on this episode. So during the episode, they had to go around and go to different checkpoints and find, things on maps and use compasses. And he refused to work with his partners. And he just was trying to constantly separate from them and not have to be with them. He had no regard whatsoever for the safety of the women that he was with. And when he was in interrogation, they noted very succinctly that Kody responds better to men than he does to women. And they exploited that to push him to a point to see if he could get through it, or if he would quit, or if he would be able to sustain and follow directions. And ultimately, Kody could not follow directions.
Just doing podcasting.
Have you done it already?
No, we were goofing off before we started recording. I just recently met the other podcast members.
He is charming. When he knows that there's a powerful man, he brings himself down.
So in this, Kody and Brianna were captured together, and they were supposed to tell the same lie to the interrogators. And their lie was that they were in Morocco as influencers making content for this company. And they were supposed to be doing this together. They weren't there as service people. They were there as influencers. And they were supposed to stay to this lie throughout. And they weren't supposed to reveal too much personal or emotional information. And when they did, that was exploited. And why was exploited? Because Brianna said that she didn't want to have to talk with Kody because she found him creepy. I mean, he is. And Kody and Brianna didn't get along, mostly because Brianna could see through him, and that because he didn't treat her well. Like when they did activities together, he had no regard for her point of view. He would discount what she said. He would just steamroll over her. He would push them to do things. He wouldn't help them. I mean, part of being in this situation is to work together, and he couldn't do that. He had no respect for women, and he frequently was not allowed or wasn't in teams with guys. They figured out very early that Kody couldn't work with women, and so he was forced to work with women. So they end up exploiting it because they know that Kody does better with men, and when a man is around, he acts better. And then they also know that Brianna doesn't like him and finds him creepy, right? But it was after this point that they're pulled out, and then I showed you yesterday that they were dunked with water. So, the drill sergeant says to Kody, like, listen, you're creepy. But after he was dunked with water, she also gets water poured on her. And during that point, the female drill sergeant screams at Kody about how he is so awful to women.
Do you like seeing your colleague getting treated like this?
To be honest, he's probably happy to watch her get punished.
Are you enjoying watching a woman suffer? Because I think that's what you like.
Ooh.
So she absolutely can see who he is. She knows what he's doing. She knows how he views women. And then Kody does what most abusive men do, and he does Darvo. So he's reversing the fact that he says that he's not the perpetrator, he's the victim. And he makes the statement that all my life I've been blown and pushed around by the whim of whatever woman was pushing me around, right? So like he's acting like he was not in control, that he was the one that was being manipulated, that he was the one that was being harmed by the woman, as though he had no agency, no choice or ability. But we know that in the cult that they came from and in the world that he exists, that that's not true. He made the choices. He decided what he wanted to do. He didn't view the women as women. He's making it look like I'm the victim of these evil women who are always pushing me around and taking away my ability to be a man. That's like some toxic manosphere lingo. And Kody has been sucked into, according to Christine, this toxic manosphere world where he is validated over and over and over again that all of the problems in his life are because of women and because of them trying to oppress him. And that just fuels misogyny, and it fuels hatred, and it makes it so that men can objectify and dehumanize women. If you don't see someone as a person, you don't treat them like a human. You treat them like an object. You have no problem mistreating them. And often for someone to abuse someone else, they have to go through a process of dehumanization. Otherwise, most of us that have empathy would never be able to hurt someone. So if you can't see someone as a human, or you can't see them as being a individual with rights and equality, you can mistreat them. You can justify the mistreatment because you don't see them as someone that deserves respect. Kody's telling us, without telling us, that he is the one that was the abuser. And he had a blonde woman who is petite, standing in his face, screaming at him, saying, "We see who you are." She could see his misogyny. Brianna did a podcast and she spoke about having to work with Kody. And she admitted that prior to the show, she had no idea who he was, but she knew that she didn't like him. She knew that he didn't treat women well. But had she known who he was, she said she would have been even assertive with him. She would have had a peace of mind with him. She would have said her piece to him. She knew that he was awful to women. She just didn't know how badly. And now that she knows, she's even more mad about how he treated her.
Are you some sort of clown? Do you think I'm a clown?
Not so.
Say something. Mate.
Kody was not able to look at women in the eye. He had no respect to speak to them. He wouldn't answer questions. He wouldn't consider their point of view. He had zero interest in interacting with women. In fact, the episode started with Kody with the female interrogator asking questions about Kody. And the part of this episode was they were supposed to build rapport with the captors to make them believe they're human and to go along with the lies that they are told, right? And they're supposed to speak, right? They're supposed to be human. They're supposed to act like people. And Kody doesn't do that. Like, he's placed in a room with the same female interrogator who asks him about his life. Is he married? Does he have kids? And when she pushes back about his answers, it's like he still can't look her in the eyes. This was a theme that like followed him the whole way. He wouldn't respect women. He wouldn't talk to women. He wouldn't answer women. He has existed in a bubble for his entire life where he has surrounded himself with yes people and with women and then other men that are like him so that he can mistreat women. And then when you put Kody in the real world and he's forced to actually interact with women, he doesn't know how to do it because he doesn't care. He doesn't value women. And that's kind of dangerous if you think about it. Like, it is a dangerous point of view to think that you're so above someone else simply because of your gender that you can't even interact with them or treat them with respect. And even out in the wild, that without who aren't your family.
I have 18 children.
How does that even happen?
Nature.
I've given you a long period of time there to answer a very simple question.
But I feel like it's private.
So they're ultimately able to break him down because they figured out in the very beginning when the woman was with him and she would ask him questions, he wouldn't look her in the face. He wouldn't answer her questions. He would say things were private. But then when he was sat down with the other male interrogator, that guy he would speak to. You know, he's like, I'm a podcaster. I'm here with a group. We're making podcasts. We haven't started doing that yet. I get along with them okay. He started smiling. He was opening up. But when he was with the woman, he didn't answer questions. He said, I have nature. That's how I had kids. He wouldn't say that he was someone that had multiple women. He said, nature caused 18 children. Then I'm not going to answer that because it's private. He didn't feel like she deserved an answer. He didn't deserve like she deserved a response. And so you couple this with, as they're going through this process, he has to work with women and he doesn't believe they deserve a response. He doesn't they deserve respect. And then when he finds out that Brianna calls him creepy, he gets mad. He's fuming. And that guy is like telling him to talk to Brianna and he refuses. And so they keep pushing that button the whole time to the very end where he refuses to say anything when the women are around, so much so that this is why he gets kicked off. At the very end, he fails in the last interrogation. He shuts down because he's so mad about being called creepy and he's mad that he was told that he likes to watch women suffer. He was mad that he had to deal with women. And so then he's put out with sandbags with these women and they're told that they have to keep holding these until he breaks, until he finally talks and he won't speak. And she's like, got them holding it over their heads, squatting, and these are very heavy sandbags. And the female interrogator's like, don't you want them to suffer? Do you like watching them suffer? And he won't say a word. He won't help them. He won't speak. He's just stubbornly watching them hold these bags in 100-degree heat and he does nothing. Nothing. He refuses to help them by speaking. He was completely shutting down because he was so angry about the women, so angry about being called out. I've never seen anything like this.
You love women. You clearly like women, but yet you have not impressed me at all. What could you have done to impress me and to get me on your side? What could you have done?
And friendly.
Kody was so angry that a woman was humiliating him, that a woman had power over him, that a woman could tell him anything. He was angry that she called him out. He was angry that Brianna called him creepy. He was angry that he had to be in a submissive role to a woman. And he shut down. Like, all he had to do was help them and say something and tell them what was going on and what they were doing and more about what they were going through. You know, like, all he had to do was speak and he wouldn't speak. They gave him so many chances to work with the women. They gave him chances to be friendly. They gave him chances to offer information, to work with them, to help them. And every single chance that he was given to do something for the women or to be nice to the female drill sergeant, he refused. He refused because of how he views women. Like he said, he's lived his life being pushed around by women. because he's the victim. He's been pushed around and he's just, you know, I'm always on the whim of women and I'm just always the one that's the victim. And that's what gets him kicked out.
Withdrawal was very heartbreaking, but 100% I agree with it. In the end, the level of stress just made it so that I shut down into a stubbornness. I feel relief that I've made it this far and disappointment that I didn't make it farther.
Kody's excuse is that he shut down out of stubbornness because of the stress. Not totally sure what kind of stress he was under, but what I witnessed was that when he was with another woman, like the female interrogator, he had no respect for her. When a man was around, he would speak to them, although not that much. But once he was told that he was creepy, and once she yelled at him and said, I think I know what you like. You like to watch women suffer. We see who you are. That's when he completely shut down. He was angry. He didn't want to cooperate anymore. I think maybe he realized that even after all of this, after all of these weeks or all of these days that he was doing this, I think it's 9 days, but it's been on the air for how many weeks now? 9. All of those weeks, he could have shown a different side of himself and he didn't. He could have learned how to work with women and he didn't. He could have, but he didn't. And in the end, it was his misogyny and his hatred of women and his inability to work with them and his anger of getting called out about it that got him kicked off. And I don't think he'll ever acknowledge that that's why he was kicked off. But his sexist misogyny is definitely the headline that's been on this series. And the world has seen a side of Kody that many of you and I have seen for years. So he hasn't changed. And the crash out was epic and he's done. He didn't win because Kody hates women. But it was glorious to see him called out and to see him fail. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and to click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.